today to speak for the Thune amendment. This is the Republican alternative, and of course, we now know that the Baucus package did not get the 60 votes required to go forward, and therefore we are now looking at the Republican substitute and waiting for a new bill to come from Senator Baucus. It is, I think, so important that our Senate say to the American people that we know that the debt being created in this country is unsupportable. Our bailouts have skyrocketed, our spending, our borrowing, now taxing, it's more than the American people can stand. Our national debt now tops $13 trillion. Since President Obama took office 18 months ago, the debt has grown by over $2.4 trillion. The president's budget shows that there's no end in sight. It doubles the national debt in 5 years and triples it in 10. In order to sustain this current spending level, the federal government is being forced to borrow 40 cents for every dollar it spends this year. The federal government is spending 67% more than it's earning. This is similar to a household that earns $62,000 but spends $105,000. Who are we borrowing that money from? We owe China over $900 billion. Japan, nearly $800 billion. Every household in America knows what it's like to set a budget. They know what the income is, and they know how to stick with it. It involves setting priorities, making tough decisions, and discipline. The bill we're debating on the floor today includes important policies that are national priorities, and I support many, maybe most of them. However, it is time that the federal government does what every other American household does, and that is pay for our priorities. Here's what the Thune Amendment does. It extends the expiring unemployment provisions until November. The expired tax provisions, including the state and local sales tax deduction, through the end of the year. So we would know that any of the expired tax cuts that people have been counting on, that have been in place for several years, would go through the end of this year so that people would know that that is at least one stabilizing force that they can count on. It drops the job-killing tax increases in the Baucus substitute. The Thune Amendment proves that government can make the tough choices. The Thune Amendment is paid for. According to CBO, it cuts taxes by $26 billion, it cuts spending by over $100 billion, and it reduces the deficit by $68 billion over the next 10 years. It would show the American people that the Senate is serious about stopping the deficit spending that we have seen in the last 18 months. Spending cuts in the Thune Amendment: 1, it rescinds the unobligated stimulus funds. 2, it imposes a 5% across-the-board cut in government spending for all federal agencies except the Veterans Administration and the Department of Defense. 3, it freezes for 1 year federal employee salaries, including, of course, Congress. It is very important that our federal employees have the same kinds of restrictions that every American is feeling right now, or most Americans are feeling right now. And a freeze, not a cut, but a freeze in federal employee salaries. It requires the selling of $15 billion of unneeded and unused government property. I believe that the doctor fix that we have really done in a patchwork year after year after year since the balanced budget amendment is now another patch. Medicare pays doctors in a fundamentally broken way. It has become an access to care crisis for our seniors. Too many seniors are unable to find a doctor that takes Medicare because the federal government has proven time and again that it is an unreliable business partner. We need a long-term solution so that the best and brightest in our country will choose medicine for their career and will serve Medicare patients. Medicare is supposed to make seniors comfortable that they will be able to get medical care. But so many Medicare patients cannot find good doctors. They can't go to the doctors that they want to see because the doctors have just said, I've had enough. In Texas, over 60% of our counties are considered health professional shortage areas. The number of medical school graduates choosing primary care has dropped 50% since 1997. 15 medical specialties have reported physician workforce shortages, and we could face a physician shortage of more than 150,000 physicians in the next 15 years. The Thune Amendment provides over 2 years of a positive update for our Medicare physicians, paid for by the kind of tort reform that has saved Texas doctors so much. The tort reform has brought down insurance premiums in Texas, and we have increased our number of doctors since tort reform was enacted. We could do the same thing at the federal level, and the many counties that I hear about from my colleagues all over our country that don't have a primary care physician or don't have an OB-GYN physician would be able to start seeing an influx back into the practice of our medical personnel. We can do something good for America. We can show America that Congress understands that this debt is unsustainable if we will pass the Thune Amendment. It is essential that we pass an amendment that will pay for the extension of unemployment insurance, that will not have any more deficit spending, and will not increase taxes. We need to continue the cutting of taxes so that our businesses will feel like they can hire people, so that we will have an economy that can be sustained without sending more and more money to the federal government, which is growing bigger and bigger. We need business to grow, hire people, get our economy going again, so that all of the sectors, including retail as well as manufacturing, will survive in our country. So, Mr. President, it is my hope that we can pass the Thune Amendment. It is fully paid for. It will not have deficit spending. It will cut taxes rather than increase taxes on business, and that is the alternative that we think it is important for America to see. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the floor. And I